Well, I can tell you, that was a lot of welding. Well, okay. Welcome back, folks, to Random Rod Shop. Today we're going to see if we can tidy up a few of the final things on the International, so my young one can start driving it back and forth, and then we can move on to making the frame a little longer for that 57 pickup. Today we're going to focus on getting this tailgate a little better situated. I really want to get the cables or arms attached to the sides of the tailgate so that when you lower the tailgate, you know, it doesn't go down all the way. So let me grab the camera and let me show you what we got.
I'm about to fire up the vacuum.
Give me just a minute. So right here, I need to replace this metal here. This is where the tailgate at some point was sitting in the ground. It was buried, you know, it's rusted through there, so I need to fix that. And we'll clean up some of the welds we got. It's pretty flat, but I think I'll do a little more work to see if I can get a little smoother. This end, while it wasn't rusty, I kind of mangled it trying to get it apart while I was straightening it out. So I want to get these screws out because every time I walk by this thing, I I take notice. Most importantly, I really need some cables or some arms so that I can drop the tailgate. I'd also like to get some shocks on this thing. So the tailgate, getting the tailgate where it will you know, when you open it, it doesn't flop. Getting some shocks on the back is really my two priorities. I think at that point, I think we can start driving this thing and see what I missed or what I need to modify along the way. Let me grab my sewing tape. So according to that, I got 7 1/4 that way. And I think I'll come over here. I'll make it 4 inches, so 7 1/4 by 4. All right. me get the wheel of death after this thing. I get carried away with the well-through primer. Well, I can tell you, that was a lot of welding. Let's see if I can get some arms on this thing so this tailgate will, you know, it won't flop when I open it. Let me go look for some parts. All right, folks. Well, that was a lot of welding. I still have a lot of cleanup to do on that tailgate, but at least it's solid. Still trying to figure out how to make the tailgate straps. I got Silverado tailgate straps, which seems to be too short, and I got, let's see. There we go. Silverado tailgate straps that seem to be too short, and I got S10 straps that seem to be too long. I think I'm gonna go see if I can search to see if I can find some square body straps that have the linkage on them. That way I can weld them and moosh them. So, still working on that. I cut the, you know, you guys that's been watching, early on I had to cut the shock mounts off because this section of the shock mount actually hangs into the inner fender on the rear wheels there. So I whacked it off, and that allowed me to set the bed on there and clear the inner fender wells in the back. Well, we're at the point now we need to put shocks back on this thing. So I welded them back together, you know, whacked this part off of the frame, and I welded the top back on. You can see that the frame sits right here and the shock comes over here. So what I need to do is I need to lower this so that this is basically at the top of the frame rail. So I think what we need to do is we need to go look for some metal, because this is like 3/16. I think, let me get a measure now. It looks thicker than 1/8 inch. Let me measure it. I may be wrong. Give or take, that's like 165, 162, somewhere around, yeah, let's call it 165. That's bigger than 1/8 of an inch. So I need to go see if I can hunt down some metal. It's one of those things. I sure wished I would have cut those off before I put that bed on. Oh well, I was excited about putting the bed on, so we get to figure it out. Let me go find some metal. Okay. Well, I found some. Hey, puppy Ralph. I know. Well, I found some metal, and I did test fitting this thing and test fitting it and trying to figure it out, and this is what I've come up with. So here's kind of what it started with. Here's what it started with, and what I decided was, you know, technically all I need to do is, you know, move this thing down. So what I did was cut some wedges, because I wasn't very accurate on cutting the shock mounts off of the frame, so everything's kind of wiggly. What I did was I went over to the frame and I measured top and bottom, the distance, the height of what's left on the frame. Ostensibly, that's what I cut off here, you know, plus the thickness of the blade. So I made some wedges out of the right gauge metal, and what I did here is I measured out the distance that I went under the truck and measured. So on this one, it's only 28 thousandths off. I got a pretty good saw cut on that one. This one down here, however, it's 340 thousandths off. So I didn't get quite as good of a saw cut on that. So get those set, tack them in there, and then when I put this thing underneath the truck, you know, that new wedge I put in there actually fits inside the remaining pieces that's still welded to the frame. Now, it's fortuitous that apparently GM decided they only needed to weld the outside of the frame. So what that means is there's no weld bead on the inside of these brackets, so I can set this little wedge right up against the frame and snug it against what's left of this shock mount. Now, I don't like butting metal together, but this is pretty thick stuff, and this truck ain't gonna be outside very often. So I think this is gonna work. And if it doesn't, I now know what it needs to look like. So we can build another one that actually is right. There's been a lot of going back and forth to try to get the angle of the dangle to match with that shock that's under there. So let me walk you through, you know, let me put this together and kind of I'll show you how I did it. So let me get this set on here, and let me get some clamps on this thing, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Let me come back. Now, since I lower this down, I need to cut these ears off flush with the wedges I just welded on there. So let me get the grinder and get those cut off. Okay, so that's about what it's going to look like under there. Still got to get the bracket pushed up against the frame, get it welded in there. Plan is to go ahead and brace the top of that to the top of the frame. I still got some cleaning to do, but basically come up with a bracket to go ahead and brace the top of that shock mount. But that looks like it's going to line up down there, and looks like it's going to work. Now, these are original shocks, and I cut, you know, 3 inches off, so I may have to find some shorter shocks. These may bottom out, but right now they should do good enough to tell me whether I got this thing lined up. Be nice if I had a set of wore out shocks. These are gas charged, and which makes them a little more exciting. All right, I'm going to drag the welder over here. I'm going to put these things on here and see if we can put shocks on, see if everything looks lined up. All right, I'm going to get back to you. Well, it's up in there. We have shocks. Let me go get the other side. The angle is a little more on these. Hey, Puppy Ralph. But not too much. That ought to work. Still got to make some brackets. All right, still got to reinforce the top of these shock mounts. And the bed has got to get trimmed back anyway, because we're going to raise the bed up 3 inches to cover the frame. So that shouldn't be a problem. Well, I think that's going to work. That makes me happy. Well, folks, I think that's all we're going to have time for. I've already burned a lot of my brownie points today. This is Easter, and my young bride has the kids over and has food in there, so I need to go get cleaned up. I appreciate you watching. If you've hung on this long, man, I do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Make a comment. Hit the bell, hit the like button. And until next time, I think I'm going to go see if I can make nice with the young bride.